James Carville knew how to win, and he blamed the Democratic losses this November 2nd on stupid wokeness, to which AOC fired back that wokeness is a term almost exclusively used by older people these days. So that should tell you all you need to know. What? This is a term folks like you brought out very recently and had been proudly displaying at every march since. Just last year, The Guardian declared woke the word of our era. I guess they didn't get the memo from the Mean Girls Club. We don't use that emoji anymore. Woke, please, we say fetch now.
Bill Maher is back in full attack mode, this time calling out AOC for pretending to distance herself from woke ideology while still pushing it forward. After suffering major losses at the ballot box, you'd think the Democratic Party would pause, reassess, and drift back toward the center. Instead, some of its biggest personalities, especially AOC, appear determined to double down on the same cultural agenda that voters already rejected.
That said, I would love to have AOC on this show. There's so much to admire there. I was one of her first supporters for the Green New Deal idea. But that will probably never happen because Democrats don't go anywhere these days where they're not pre-adored. And that's my last bit of advice to them. Go where the amen corner isn't. Do Fox News. Be brave. Come here. Go everywhere. Winning is about expanding the electorate.
And Maher isn't easing off the gas. In this segment, he dissects AOC's latest attempt to rebrand her politics while clinging to the same woke framework. Buckle up, because Maher doesn't mince words here. The criticism is sharp, relentless, and unapologetic, exactly the way his audience expects.
What a great strategy, never missing an opportunity to remind voters how lame and clueless and hopelessly uncool they are, especially since those are the ones who actually vote. But okay, fine. What word would you like us to use for the plainly insane excesses of the left that are not liberalism, but something completely different? Because you can't have that word liberal from us and think it should cover things like canceling Lincoln and teaching third graders their oppressors. That's all your new thing.
Here's where Maher really cuts to the core. AOC isn't afraid of woke ideology itself. She's afraid of the label. It's the political equivalent of saying, I agree with everything this movement stands for, just don't call me that in public. Even as she tries to soften her image, she remains deeply embedded in woke politics. And that contradiction is precisely what Maher is exposing. He's not playing semantics. He's calling out an entire faction that insists they're just progressive, while promoting policies that stray far from traditional liberal principles. Maher argues that liberalism once meant open discussion, tolerance for disagreement, and practical thinking. Now, under leaders like AOC, it's morphed into an ultra-moralized, hypersensitive crusade that barely resembles its original ideals.
A more pertinent question to ask about the word woke might be, why in such a short time has it gone from a rallying cry to a pejorative? If the word only made you think of rational, deserved causes like teaching a less whitewashed version of American history, AOC would still want to own it. But it's a joke, because it makes you think of people who wake up offended and take orders from Twitter, and their oversensitivity has grown tiresome.
Maher makes it clear that figures like AOC and Bernie Sanders don't represent classic liberal values, the kind rooted in free speech, reasoned debate, and workable solutions. Even the original meaning of woke has been hijacked. What once meant being alert to real injustices has been stretched into a catch-all term for extreme positions that most Americans find alien. Awareness has been replaced with performance. Policy has taken a back seat to symbolism. Instead of helping working families, the movement obsesses over word policing, niche ideological fights, and endless purity tests. Maher's message is blunt. Modern woke politics has drifted far away from both liberal tradition and everyday reality.
People ask me all the time, why haven't you ever had Hillary or Bill Clinton on? Why didn't you have Kamala on during the last campaign? You think we don't ask? We ask these people every week. They say no. It took 8 years and a petition to get Obama on. And these are people, all people I voted for. Think about that. They're afraid to come on the show of a guy who voted for them. The Republicans, they show up.
Longtime viewers know Maher has repeatedly invited Democrats to appear on his show. He's extended public invitations, issued challenges, and even called them out directly. Yet they keep declining. The reason is obvious. They know Maher won't play along or let rehearsed talking points slide. Though he identifies as a Democrat, he still believes in tough questioning and honest debate, traits that make him dangerous to today's image-managed political class. Sitting across from Maher means being challenged, contradicted, and exposed in real time. So instead of facing him, they avoid him altogether, choosing safety over scrutiny.
You can give the people all the goodies Joe Manchin will allow, and it doesn't seem to buy their love. Why? Why is the party that supports so many issues that benefit the middle class still considered out of touch by 62% of Americans? In plain English, nobody likes a snob. Hillary Clinton didn't have anyone on rural research or outreach when she ran in 2016 until the race tightened just before the election. Then they hired one. And where was his office? Brooklyn. True story. Politics is local, not locally sourced. It's not artisan. It's art and stand.
According to Maher, the DNC has become far more invested in political performance than in addressing the problems facing ordinary Americans. Rather than listening to average voters, they cater to the loudest ideological activists, a group that doesn't even reflect most Democrats. Maher repeatedly stresses a basic truth: politics is local. It's about showing up, listening, and solving real-life problems. But that lesson seems lost on figures like AOC, who appear more focused on ideological battles than governing. Maher's criticism is straightforward: less theater, more results. Right now, Democrats are failing at that balance.
Your microaggression culture doesn't play in the Rust Belt. If a staffer hands you a speech that says menstruating people instead of women, don't say that. Say women. Don't put anyone fresh out of college in charge of the campaign. They've been given participation trophies their whole life. They don't know how to win.
Maher continues by breaking down the specific woke excesses that helped cost Democrats elections. He highlights how basic concepts like womanhood were nearly erased, replaced with awkward clinical language that left everyday Americans baffled. He also criticizes modern education culture, where resilience and excellence have been replaced with participation trophies and lowered expectations. The idea that effort no longer matters, Maher argues, spread beyond schools and into politics and workplaces. Hiring based on identity rather than ability became common, and voters noticed. These weren't minor missteps. They were visible signs of ideological overreach that pushed people away.
To a lot of folks in America, you come across as the cares about everybody but me party. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can find ways to stand up for these folks without being David Duke. This month, when the Democrats finally passed their big $1 trillion bill to rebuild our roads and bridges, 6 Democrats voted no because it didn't go far enough to address climate change, which I'm sure is true. What does? But this was free money from the federal government that would actually improve their constituents' lives. I can see a voter saying, you know, squad, I agree with you on climate change. But as long as it is happening, we also need money for getting the water pumped out of the subway.
Maher also points out what he sees as a troubling imbalance in priorities. Democrats appear more emotionally invested in causes overseas than in the struggles of people at home. They organize rallies for foreign conflicts and distant humanitarian crises, yet stall when addressing housing, jobs, infrastructure, and public safety in their own cities. He highlights a major funding proposal that was rejected simply because it didn't include climate provisions. Instead of addressing urgent needs first, party leaders scrapped the entire deal. Maher argues that practical politics means solving immediate problems, then pushing broader goals later. Ideological purity, he says, has replaced common sense, and voters are paying attention.
And then there's abortion, a difficult issue for the Democrats to lose on, but they're trying. For decades, liberals have said if only men could get pregnant, this wouldn't even be an issue. And abortion rights are women's rights. Well, that's wrong now. Or as the kids say, hold up. When the wokey end of the progressive spectrum talks about abortion now, they shy away from that word women and prefer terms like birthing people or people who menstruate, because somewhere there's a trans man who's pregnant, and I say good for him, and I'll be looking for his story somewhere in a future issue of Ripley's Believe It or Not.
The woke movement reached its breaking point when activists began insisting that men could become pregnant. For many Americans, this crossed from political debate into absurdity. The rollout of symbolic gestures like a pregnant man emoji only amplified the confusion. When people questioned the logic, they weren't met with discussion, they were met with outrage. Doubt became heresy. Disagreement became evidence of moral failure. Maher argues that this moment exposed the movement's true nature. It wasn't about inclusion anymore, but about enforcing belief. And most people simply refused to play along.
Last week, an 85% Latino congressional district on the border with Mexico, which had always voted heavily Democratic, flipped to the red team. And the campaign manager for the losing Democrat said, "We gave up a reliably Democratic congressional seat for no reason at all. We deserve to know why." Well, aside from your terrible attitude, I'm going to tell you why. Because these voters stopped seeing your candidate as their lawyer. That's why. Their message to you was, I'm an American now. I'm here. Be my lawyer, not the lawyer for the migrants showing up in my backyard.
Ultimately, Maher's critique goes far beyond AOC or woke terminology. It's about a Democratic Party that has lost touch with everyday Americans. From redefining biology to prioritizing symbolism over solutions, the party has drifted into a world that feels unrecognizable to the average voter. Maher's conclusion is simple. When a party caters to fringe activists instead of solving real problems, people walk away. That's exactly what happened. Democrats didn't lose because voters became cruel or uninformed. They lost because they ignored reality and punished dissent. Until the party abandons ideological extremes and refocuses on practical governance, voices like Maher's will keep growing louder, and voters will keep sending the same message at the polls. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe for more.